Welcome to Derry goes for spectacle over substance. First off, Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise is obviously a standout. You're locked in every single time he's on screen. He's still incredibly effective, and the show absolutely knows that. Another character that really worked for me was Halloran from The Shining. Using him in this context led to some really interesting scenes and matchups. I especially loved when we see Pennywise getting into his head and messing with him, and then flipping that dynamic in the finale when Halloran is inside Pennywise's head and messing with him. That stuff really worked for me. And this brings me to the plot and story of the series. I do think the show gives you enough tense, startling, creepy Pennywise scenes to feel like a worthy continuation of the It movies. The town of Derry still feels deeply unsettling and disturbing like it did in the movies. On the surface, everything seems fine, but you can just tell something it just isn't right. That said, I really feel like the highlights of this show are just a string of interesting scenes and terrifying imagery, and they're not really held together by a well-written story. The setup and initial mysteries early on were compelling, but ultimately they don't wrap up in a coherent or satisfying way. The military plan run by the actor that plays Dexter's dad makes absolutely zero logical sense. His idea to get rid of Pennywise's cage and release him into the world because he believes it will create order out of fear, like he could actually control or steer that thing. Completely ridiculous in my opinion. Then there's Periwinkle, that character believing Pennywise is actually her father. You can give the character the benefit of the doubt. She's dealing with trauma and wants to believe that's her father. If that works for you, fine, but for me, I need your reasoning to trump what common sense would tell 99% of people. It just doesn't. That's clearly some sort of demonic, predatory creature. That's not your dad. The final negative thing I'll say is that, again, I just think they were more concerned with spectacle over substance. The finale is really over the top. A bunch of not great CGI, lights, power beams, fog, and no, not the mist. That visual representation didn't work for me either. That's just confusing. Spectacle that's not what makes it great to me. What makes it work are those subtle, isolating moments where Pennywise corners those troubled individuals. If you look at the group of characters in It Chapter 1 and compare the trauma and issues they're dealing with to this group, those characters are just so much more compelling. I'll end on a positive note though. I did really like how the finale connects directly into It Chapter 1. Especially with the ending leading up to Beverly Marsh's character. I'll admit that made me want to go back and rewatch that movie. Considering all that, I'll barely stick it into my liked it tier. And like, follow, and subscribe for more videos like this.